It's a pitfall that happens both in your own head, in my own head, and in your teams and in your companies. I can use a very silly example. You ready? So here's me, and my job is to build smileys, all right? I spend the first day developing a smiley. That's how far I get. Pretty complex smileys. Next day, can you see this in the back more or less? Good, I see one thumb. Right, next day I get a bit further, and here the smiley is done. Great, I can deliver it. Cool? All right. And then I start working on the next smiley. We got the pink customer who wants a smiley. Start working on it one day. And then the next day over here, like that. And then finally, done. Okay. And what I do next? Well, I'm a smiley creator, right? So I create more smileys. There's a customer yellow who wants a smiley, so sure, go ahead. There. Looks good, right? 3 smileys, designed, delivered, tested. All right, let's rewind. And let's say I have a different situation or a different personality. I start working on my smiley here, like that, right? And, wait, that's the wrong pile. It's this pile. I start working on my smiley, and suddenly customer pink says, hey, how's my smiley going? And I'm like, oh, don't worry, I'm working on it. Don't worry, I'm working on your smiley. And I'll start working on pink, right? And then comes customer yellow and says, listen, I really, really need my smiley. It's very urgent. Please start working on it right now. Okay, sure, I'm working on it. There. Now I can tell all 3 customers, don't worry, I've started your project. Right? It's great. They're in progress. Green flag. Don't you love that green flag thing? Yeah. Okay, and then I go back to working on the orange one, and then of course now the pink customer is getting a bit stressed and wondering where the heck is my stuff. Don't worry, I'll get right to it. And you see the pattern, right? It just goes on like this and like that. And finally, oh, I got done. There's an orange smiley right there. See it? Right? And I got done with pink finally, and I got done here, right? Okay, what's the difference? Everyone got their smileys later, except the last one. That's one difference. Let's take pink. Pink is the middle example, right? Notice that pink started later here and finished earlier, right? And down here, pink started early and finished late, right? That's what we mean by stop starting and start finishing, right? Because if you just focus on starting things, things take forever. But there's an interesting thing here. What about productivity? How would you rate the productivity in these 2 different situations? First one is higher. Actually, I would say they're the same because look, in this amount of time, we produced three faces, right? In real life. Well, let's get to real life in a moment. This is just sticky notes, right? The time to market is 2 to 3 times slower here, right? Same person doing the same amount of work. Time to market 2 to 3 times slower. Whenever I start something until it finishes it, 2 to 3 times longer. But the productivity is about the same because in this amount of time, I finished 3 things, right? But something's missing. What's missing in this model? Context switch. And I did that deliberately because look, even this person who is like a robot, this is Mr. Perfect Context Switcher, right? It has 0 context switching time. Even that person is 2 to 3 times slower. Isn't that kind of interesting? Mathematically, 2 to 3 times slower. There's nothing you can do to get around it. You don't get to violate math, right? So even a perfect multitasker is going to be 2 to 3 times slower here, just because I couldn't say no and wait. Right, so let's add the more realistic version of this. Let's say we're not perfect multitaskers, which we aren't, by the way. And in complex work like software, multitasking or the task switching cost is quite high, right? So here's me focusing on the orange one, right? And now I got to switch to the next project. There's going to be a gap here, right? And I work on the next one. And there's another gap. I've got to switch context, find a new customer, set up the environment, understand what they need, etc. There we go. A little more realistic, right? And I know that you know where this is all heading, but I'm going to still put it up there because I want to make it really, really clear, okay? Let's make it really, really clear. So here's the same person doing the same work in a different way, right? It's a person who cannot say no, who cannot say wait, who cannot prioritize. So I'm paying this context switching price every day. Every day I got multiple stories or multiple projects, multiple tasks going on simultaneously, although they're not going on simultaneously because our brains can't do things simultaneously. So instead it's, I'm jumping around, right? So here we go. Now what's interesting about this picture? You got a lot of things. Well, first of all, we got the time to market, right? I started here, I finished 3 days later. I started here, I finished, 2 weeks later, right? So suddenly you got the same amount of work taken like 5 times longer, 7 times longer, but you also got productivity difference. In this amount of time, this person, the focused person, could do another 2 projects, right? Or I could reiterate, I could add some hair to this one, right? Or whatever. Plus, I'm learning faster, so I'm going to produce better stuff. Plus, the multitasking causes stress, so this person will be happier and less stressful. And we know from the keynote yesterday, Jürgen, that happier people do better work, right? So there's just so many reasons for why we should try to create focus. And this applies to both individuals, teams, departments. Look at how many projects you're working on at the same time. Look in your calendar. Look at how many stories are in progress for the team, right? The right answer isn't always going to be one. I mean, this is a bit maybe exaggerated. But if you look at your multitasking, you're probably going to find that a lot of the context switch is just wasteful and unnecessary. There's going to be some that we can't get away from, but a lot of it is really wasteful. So look for that, because what that is free resources, right? It's people you don't have to hire. It's hours you don't have to work. Kind of magical.